Athens City Council. It's Monday night, September 19th at 7 o'clock, and we are in regular session tonight. Our first item of business will be to establish the quorum. All members of council are present. Our next item of business is disposition of minutes for the regular session of council held on September 6, 2016. Could I have a motion for approval? A second for approval? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. We'll now have communications, and I would like to bring up under our communications that council members, City Council has a number of ordinances for consideration tonight, and rather than suspending these tonight, it is a suggestion that we have a special session before our committee meetings next Monday night, but I would like a show of hands so we have this for the record. Are council members in favor of having this special session next Monday night? Okay, thank you very much. All right, and we'll move on to communications from other elected council members. Do you have any? Patrick, Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, President Nisley. I just wanted to say that I've had some communication from people who have seen the recent A News article in regards to the fact that the Sheriff's Department is going to be using the cameras, the body cameras, and several of those people, and I won't give names, of course, have suggested that it's highly appropriate for the Athens police to have that sort of equipment, that it would cut back on possible liability, but even more importantly, it would aid in the determination of what is actually true or possibly a mistake. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other communications from other council members? All right, we'll move to other elected officials. We have our auditor, Kathy Hecht, here tonight.
Good evening. I have just a couple of things I wanted to bring up tonight. First of all, I'd like to talk about our annual audit. We had our exit conference last week, and once again, we have what they call a clean audit with no findings, and we've done a very good job for the city. Of course, that centers around my office, but as far as all the bookkeeping and tracking of information, we rely on everyone in the city, all the other departments to do that in the proper way, and they're very cooperative, and so we're in good shape as far as our audit goes. And it hasn't been posted on the auditor's website yet, but if anybody's interested, feel free to ask for a copy. I do have an electronic copy, but before long it will be on the state auditor's website also. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, because I couldn't be here last week, is the ordinance that was introduced regarding borrowing $7.3 million for a new pool. We started that through because there is a long process involved with borrowing that money. Part of it involves getting our bond rating set by Moody's and doing a presentation for all of that. We have been working on that presentation. It's pretty involved. It's a lot of very interesting information about the city of Athens once it's put together. And so when we present that to Moody's to try to get our bond rating set, hopefully we're like on the cusp of dropping down from what we were, and we don't want that to happen. At the very least, we want to stay where we are, AA2, which is a quality bond rating. To do that, we also have to show good faith and that there is a reason for us to take their time to do this. Every time you go get a bond, you have to get it evaluated. And if we go through this process and we don't end up doing anything for 6 months or whatever, we'll have to go through this whole process again. So our bond consultant has asked that the city approve the issue, give us the authorization to borrow this money. Doesn't mean I'm going to go out the next day and go out to bid or anything else. My feeling is that we passed a tax levy that started. We've been collecting money for a pool. We all know that we're going to have at least a pool somewhere sooner rather than later. And it's not up to me to decide what the design is going to be or anything else, but we need to be able to borrow the money. And as I said, there's a long process involved in borrowing money through a bond process as opposed to going down the street to a bank and doing the paperwork with them also. So I am asking council to pass this ordinance now, authorizing up to $7.3 million, and that doesn't mean we'll necessarily spend that much. That's the amount that we've been talking about for at least a year, and what I'm hearing is the final design for the outdoor pool might not be that much, but either way, we can't go over that. But we really do need to show before the mayor and I bother going to Chicago to meet with the representatives from Moody's to help us get a good bond rating. The council is also supportive of this, that this is going to happen, because otherwise we're just wasting their time and ours to do that. But I feel that you'll all agree that the idea is we need to move forward with the pool at some point, and to get all these ducks in a row, I really prefer to do this now and get it over with. Before long, we will be budgeting, and that's another time of the year that involves my office, and year-end things that we have to do. So I think now is the time to do that. And just as a reminder, 6 years ago, we refinanced our bond for the community center, and we saved $350,000 by doing that for the next 6 years of that bond. That was a 16-year bond. And we're able to actually pay that off. We had the money to pay that off early. So you can't really pay off a bond early, but any money we collected after that, we were in really good shape. So to think that over 6 years' time we could save $350,000 by securing a different bond rating and going out to bid again is really important. And I feel we should try to save money any way we can. And getting a good bond rating at this point is one way we can do that. So I hope that council will support this and support us in this process by approving this ordinance so that when we go see Moody's, we can tell them that, yes, the city does plan to move forward with this. We don't know what the plans are yet, but they are planning to. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I'm sorry I couldn't be here last Monday. But again, I would appreciate your support on this. I know you're not going to suspend tonight, and that's fine. But hopefully on Monday you will. So, and if you don't want to ask me anything now and you want to call me or email me tomorrow, that's fine too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and congratulations on the audit report to you and your staff. I know that's a lot of hard work, and that helps us too with your explanation on the bond. We'll have communications and reports from other elected officials. Mayor Patterson.
Thank you. I'd also like to follow up on what the auditor is mentioning in the outstanding report that we got with the audit is also helpful with us going out to Moody's for our bond rating. It is a small window that we're working with to get out to Chicago because of busy schedules and whatnot, but we're actually hoping to fly out and be in Chicago on the 29th and the 30th, so next week, as early as next week, but we'll see how things go on next Monday night. We are really fortunate in that we received an ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, TAP grant, Transportation Alternatives, for the Richland Avenue pedestrian causeway, no, whatever we're calling it. The tunnel is not a tunnel. It's a 95% match for this grant. We received $1,812,000 and change for this, which is rather large. The project, if I'm not mistaken, was total project estimated at about $2.2 million. So this is going to pay for a lot of that. We're in the fiscal year 2019 cycle with this grant, so likely not to see a whole lot of movement until 2018. But this is great news for a pedestrian crossing
that is hazardous at best, as well as the congestion in terms of vehicle traffic running up and down the Richland Avenue corridor. Just as a reminder that this is the crosswalk that goes from West Green across to Porter Hall, Grover Center, Baker Center area. And so this is, like I said, this is great news. So that I wanted to share. The other thing is that West State Street will be closed to westbound traffic. This is tomorrow from Schaefer Street to Mill Street. This is for asphalt milling and paving. So just as a heads up that there's going to be closure for a period of time from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. for work in that area. There's a ribbon cutting ceremony for the ADA accessible trail that goes from the parking lot area at Sells Park up to the pond. That'll be this Thursday at 11 a.m. at Sells Park, and everyone is encouraged to come and join us. It's a long-awaited process for anyone. I know council toured that development, but for anyone else who has not gone to Sells Park and looked at this ADA accessible trail, it's amazing. It's all concrete, and originally it was going to be asphalt, but we were able to make it have it done with concrete. So it's a nice addition to that park. Tomorrow at 10:30, there is a small grand opening of the Holzer Clinic on Court Street, just as an FYI to anyone who's in that area, right across from us over at 5 on Court, or 5 on Court. And two last things. The Athens Area Stand Down, which is an event that's going to take place Friday, October 7th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is at the Athens County Fairgrounds. Equally important, there's donation boxes for clothing, and Auditor, help me out. Is it just clothing items that are in there? Toiletries. It's right in front of me. Sleeping bags, sunscreen, wet wipes, backpacks, shoes, boots, coats, clothing, non-perishable foods, a number of things. There's a drop box in the front entrance to the city building, and there's also one at the community center, but there's likely these boxes all over the place in the city as well. So please, if you can donate. And if you can attend. I'll be speaking briefly at the stand down on October 7th, again at the fairgrounds at 10:30. And
Mayor, who does it benefit?
Kathy, would you like to speak to that? Or Auditor, would you like to speak to that?
It's a homeless stand down. Stand down's a military term for the time after a battle or deployment for military, kind of an R&R type thing. And it started out as veteran stand downs to help them get back on their feet. Now the stand downs that I've been involved with, I think all of them, they're probably all over the country, but I know there's many in Ohio. We've been supporting the one in Columbus for the last, 8 or 10 years locally, and now we're having ours right here in Athens now. They have one in Chillicothe and one in Lancaster, and it will be for all homeless. There will be some services that will be veterans only, but the majority of the items will be for all homeless in the Athens area, not just Athens County even, but I think we're expecting possibly 300 guests, and hopefully we will have enough. We provide services plus items, takeaways. We'll have people there doing haircuts, and a lot of local groups with tables to offer information, legal services, benefit services, and things like that. And we'll serve lunch for everybody who's there, and then we'll have lots of items for them to take. And it's typically held this time of year. The one in Columbus is around the 22nd of October every year, and it's to basically get them ready for the winter. And I think people would be surprised at the number of homeless people we have in the Athens area. One thing to keep in mind is they aren't all sleeping outside. We have a lot, and veterans in particular, who do what they call couch surfing. and, sleep for a time on a friend's couch, and then another friend's, and then a relative's couch, and they don't have a permanent residence, and they still need all these personal care items to help them until they can get a permanent residence, which then helps them qualify for other benefits and things like that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. The anticipated services, just to kind of reiterate what the auditor just mentioned, benefits information, legal services, health screenings, food boxes, home information or housing information, job search information, addictions recovery services. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So this is going to be a great event, I believe. And so, but also, like I said, look for these donation boxes that are throughout the city, but the ones that I'm aware of are right here in the city building and also up at the community center for anyone who wants to donate. Finally, it has been announced through the Municipal Arts Commission that they've landed on a mural to go on the Depot Street lift station. At least they've landed on an artist and the design. I don't know if Scott Thompson was able to queue up the image for people to see. Hopefully he has it. He's given me the give me 1 minute sign out there, but the artist that has been notified, where is he on here? Keith Wild, thank you. Keith Wild is the artist. It was juried by AMAC, and the design itself is rather charmingly whimsical. It's nice. It'll be well done. I showed it to my 2 4.5-year-old daughters, and they both gave it a big thumbs up. They thought this was great. So this is what is going to go on that west-facing wall of the Depot Street lift station. There were 4 entries that came in, and this is the one that landed on top. The one that was kind of the backup mural, if you will, was also an outstanding mural. But decisions had to be made, and so this is where the Municipal Arts Commission, where they landed. That's all I have. Yes.
Can I just ask one question about that mural sighting? Just because I pass by that site often, and I'm wondering how visible it will be, because if I'm not mistaken, that wall is obscured by greenery.
No, this wall is right there facing Depot Street. Anyone taking the path to go back to Life Sciences or onto OU campus from that Depot Street area, you're looking right at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the west-facing wall.
Which faces the stream. The west.
Yeah.
Facing.
And part of this project, too, was a really quick turnaround because we're trying to beat the weather to put the anti-graffiti coating on it as well. But Mr. Wild fit the bill and said he could get it done within a month's time. So that's where we landed.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
I can add briefly that the mayor sits on the Municipal Arts Commission as well, so he is his own representative.
Okay, great.
Sorry, one more thing. I almost failed to mention this one. That the Athens Veterans Banner Project, I believe, has been extended to September 30th. For anyone wishing to get a veteran service, military service member onto one of the banners, there is a cost of $125. Anyone interested can contact Judge George McCarthy about getting a banner on. So again, just to put this in everyone's minds, that the banner project is still accepting veterans' names to be put on.
Is there a link to that project on the city website? Can that be?
We can do that if we don't have it on there. Thanks.
And it's also on Facebook.
Right.
It has its own page. Okay. All right. A brief welcome to Mr. Sudis's class members tonight. Glad to see you here. And just a very brief explanation. You may have already heard this. When we read through our third readings of our ordinance, that's when we usually make a motion to approve them, unless there would be some kind of amendment. second readings of ordinances. The title is just read. And then the first reading of the ordinances, we do offer a brief explanation as we go through that first reading. So hopefully that explains the procedure tonight. We now have ordinances for third reading. And this is Ordinance 9916, an ordinance authorizing disposal of Ohio rural intercity buses, known as the GO bus, and this is introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you. I move to adopt 9916.
Second.
And this is, I believe, the final ordinance regarding our well-used GO buses. So basically, we need to allow these vehicles to be put out to pasture or bid, basically, if someone wants to buy them for parts or whatever.
So we have a motion and a second for approval of Ordinance 9916. And are there any other comments or questions? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 10316 is an ordinance accepting the donation of approximately 14 acres off Longview Heights by the Rotary Club of Athens, dedicated for recreational use and commonly known as Camp Rotan. This is introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you. I move that we adopt 10316.
Second.
We've had a lot of discussion about this. It will expand the city's recreational opportunities, and it's a nice area. I have been contacted by numerous groups that want to continue helping out, and with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts also continuing to help out at this particular place.
And we do have a motion and a second for approval of 10316. And any other comments or questions?
Just wanted to
Councilmember
make
Packer?
sure that the Girl Scouts, that all the paperwork is together for them to retain their involvement with that building and all of that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor of approval of Ordinance 10316 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. 10616 is an ordinance authorizing disposal of the green glass windows at Arts West and entering into an agreement with the Athens County Historical Society and Museum to retain a portion of the glass for the city to use as replacement panes. This is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Nisley. I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 106-16.
Second.
Briefly, this was discussed in committee as well as during first reading. Simply, it just allows the Historical Society to house some of the green glass from the Arts West building. The appraised value of that glass is $1,400. They will also use some of the glass that had been donated. Thank you.
Okay. We now have ordinances for second reading. Ordinance 1.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Oh, we do have the motion and the second, and we do need to do the final vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. We now have ordinances for second reading. 10716 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to execute a mutual aid agreement between the City of Athens and Ohio University for law enforcement assistance and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Butler. Ordinance 10816 is an ordinance authorizing a contract for the Washington County Commissioners and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Butler. Ordinance 10916 is an ordinance amending the 2016 appropriation ordinance, introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 11016 is an ordinance providing for the, before I move on, I want to check with the auditor, does 10916 need suspension?
I don't know, maybe Debbie knows. The municipal court has to have that paid by the end of this month, but I'm not sure if it's before we meet again.
Okay.
Even our
Maybe
special
we better
session.
be cautious, super cautious on this one so the court doesn't have a problem with payment.
If no one objects, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules for 10916.
Second.
Reason for the suspension is indicated.
Okay,
Better be
okay,
safe than sorry. And
okay. Thank you.
make sure the court pays its bill.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules for Ordinance 10916. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The rules have been suspended. Councilmember Reisner.
I make a motion to adopt 10916.
Second.
This is a ordinance will authorize the appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the following item: $3,978.28 to Community Corrections Act Grant Fund 235 TC 600 for refund to the state. That's essentially what we're doing, refunding some money back.
Okay. So we now have a motion and a second for approval of Ordinance 10916. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance has been approved. Ordinance 11016 is an ordinance providing for the issuance of $473,411 of notes by the City of Athens, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of renewing notes previously issued for the purpose of paying part of the costs of acquiring a new pumper truck and related equipment and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 11116 is an ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $7,300,000 of bonds by the City of Athens, Ohio, for the purpose of financing a new swimming pool facility by retiring notes previously issued for the purpose and providing additional funds for such facility and matters related to such bonds and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 11216 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state agreement for a pavement replacement project on US 33, State Route 550, and State Route 13, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 11316 is an ordinance closing a portion of Armitage Road on Saturday, October 1st, 2016, for a cross-course bicycle race and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 11416 is an ordinance banning parking and closing that portion of Court Street from Mulberry to Carpenter on October 29th and 30th, 2016, in anticipation of a large number of people converging on downtown Athens, known as Halloween weekend, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 11516 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code 113.04.10, unnecessary noise for scheduled bandstand performances hosted by the Clean and Safe Halloween Committee on October 29th and 30th, 2016, Halloween weekend. This is introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 11616 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting to allow vending in a designated area on October 29th and October 30th, 2016, Halloween weekend, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. Ordinance 11716 is an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street on Monday, October 31st, 2016, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. for trick-or-treat hosted by the Athens Uptown Business Association, introduced by Councilmember Pappy. We'll now move on to ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 11816 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state agreement for bridge inspection program services and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you. We discussed this last week at committee, and this is basically an agreement with the state for them to inspect our bridges. They assume and bear 100% of the cost for the bridge inspection program and the rating calculations and assessments.
Okay. We'll move on to Ordinance 11916. And this is an ordinance amending the 2016 appropriation ordinance and introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. Allow me to read the ordinance first time. Section 1, the 2016 Appropriation Ordinance 1/2015 is hereby amended by appropriating from the unappropriated balance the following sums: $3,000 to DUI Court Grant Fund 237.106 TC 100 to meet year-end expenses. $20,000 to Water Fund Administration, 740,636, TC 100 to meet year-end expenses. $25,000 to Sewer Fund Administration, 750,636, TC 100 to meet year-end expenses. $25,000 to Sewer Fund Plant, 750,637, TC 300 to meet year-end expenses. $170,000 to Sewer Fund Plant, 750,637, TC 100 to meet year-end expenses. Read for the first time.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 1/2016 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 1816, authorizing construction and construction engineering services for the Depot Lift Station, project number 286. This is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. We spoke about this during committee meeting. The project is completed. Quite simply, this is just an accounting line effort to amend and move the money to the proper line from the capital to professional services in the CDBG fund. Thank you.
Ordinance 12116 is an ordinance granting a revocable license to American Electric Power, represented by Jamie Shepard, to install ADSS fiber cable on the city right-of-way on Factory Street and Riverside Drive. This is introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you. We talked about this last week in council and committee. It's a revocable license for 10 years. The first has been signed off by all city personnel.
And we have Resolution 1016. This is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the first reading of this resolution. For some people who may not know, the City of Athens does not have a property tax, but we do exist within the boundaries of the County of Athens, which does have a property tax. The city extends into the county. We have 2 townships that we have part of our corporation within, Athens and Canaan. So we derive part or some fraction of that property tax for our needs to maintain the streets, roads, and bridges within the boundaries of Athens, which the county would no longer has to maintain. So I shall read the resolution as it now stands. Whereas the county, in accordance with the provisions of law, has previously adopted a tax budget for the next succeeding fiscal year, commencing January 1st, 2017, and whereas the Budget Commission of Athens County, Ohio, has certified its actions thereon to the council, together with an estimate by the county auditor of the rate of each tax necessary to be levied by this council, and what part thereof is without and what part is within the 10 mil limitation. Therefore be it resolved by the council of the City of Athens, Athens County, Ohio, that the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission in its certification be and the same are hereby accepted, and be it further resolved that there be and is hereby levied on the tax duplicate of said city the rate of each tax necessary to be levied within and without the 10 mil limitation as follows. And briefly, for Athens Township, we're looking at $825,429, which is within the 10 mil limit. And Canaan Township, $51,526 for a grand total of $876,956.
Okay,
So,
thank
read
you.
for the first time.
All right. We'll move on to announcements and other business. And I believe we have an appointment of a person to a board.
Thank you,
commission.
President Isley.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Nicholas M. Palmer to the Arts, Parks, and Recreation Advisory Board.
Second.
We've been handed, council members have received a copy of his resume. He's expressed interest in the position. I also believe he is an Athenian, grew up here, went to Ohio University, then pursued employment outside of the state and has returned to the community and is excited to offer some volunteer work. The mayor might have some more information as well. Thank you.
Just some things to point out, some notes in his resume. His degree is a Bachelor of Specialized Studies in Outdoor Management and Consulting, and he's worked in Oregon and Vermont state park systems in the past. So he, I think he'll bring an interesting skill set to the Arts, Parks, and Recreation Council.
We have a motion and a second for approval of Mr. Nicholas Palmer to the Arts, Parks, and Recreation Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Unanimous that he's been selected and approved by council, and congratulations to him, and thank him in advance for the work that he'll be doing, I'm sure. Okay, do we have any other announcements? Yes, Auditor Hecht.
I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the August finance reports for the auditor's office.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of those reports, and we do appreciate getting them, believe me. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The reports have been approved. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah. All right, we have now any other announcements? Okay. We do have on our agenda an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services not covered on the agenda. So if it's something that has not been mentioned on our agenda tonight, you're free for 3 minutes to speak on any topic. Is there anyone interested in speaking? Yes, Mr. Lee. And if you'd announce your name and address for the audience so they'll know too. Thank you.
Eric Lee, 51 Madison Avenue. I don't know if you guys have heard about some other cities doing food for fines program where either the full year or part of the year you can pay your parking ticket in either canned foods or other people have suggested produce and have it go towards a homeless shelter or food bank. Other people have suggested a portion of your fines for parking go towards food banks. I think it'd be an excellent idea for the city.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that forward. Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? All right. We will be having a motion in just a second to move into executive session because the city has some pending litigation. What we'll do is make that motion, and we will then, from the time we make that motion, let's say it's 7:40, we'll give the students in the audience and the reporters 10 minutes to speak with council members. I know some of you have questions to ask. And then we will close the doors. After that executive session is over, we do open the doors back up. If you have some pressing kind of question and want to wait, we do open the doors back up and adjourn before closing our business for the night. So I will entertain a motion for going into
I move that we move into executive session regarding pending litigation with all council members, administration, mayor, and service safety director, law director, and auditor.
And we do need to include in the motion that there's collective bargaining as well, I think.
And collective bargaining to be
you.
discussed.
So we have a motion and a second, and I will take a roll call vote. So Councilmember Butler?
Aye.
Councilmember Reisner?
Aye.
Councilmember Pappy?
Aye.
Councilmember Fall?
Aye.
Councilmember Cochran?
Aye.
Councilmember Constance?
Aye.
Councilmember McGee?
Aye.
Okay. So we will be moving in. It's now 7:39. At 7:40, 7:50, we will be moving. We will close the doors. So you have until then to speak with council members.